Finally, we've reached the stage where the frame is ready and it's time to install the windows. Today, I'll tell you how to order windows at this stage, receive them, install them, and achieve such a stunning view as the one behind me. The entire process of ordering and installing windows can be divided into several stages. The first is design. The second is the actual ordering. The third is installation. And the fourth is inspection. And of course, we'll talk about how to avoid mistakes, because mistakes affect your future expenses for the house. Before you start working with an architect, think about what kind of windows you want to install in your home. You always have the option to buy these windows at Home Depot. These are standard sizes and you can make something out of them, or you can order them elsewhere, either in America or from another country. Custom windows are windows that are made to order. After that, you go to the architect and explain your request to them. I want large windows, or I want small windows to save energy. And the architect will incorporate your request and the options you provide into their design. But before starting the design, ask yourself what kind of windows you want to order. How much are you willing to pay for it? How long are you prepared to wait, and who will be doing the work? After that, pass this information on to your architect. When you are designing window layouts, you can start by simply finding out what standard windows are available at Home Depot, Lowe's, or another supplier. As a rule, there will be size limitations, heights up to 8 or 10 feet, and the width of these windows will most likely be for plastic windows. And if you want to do something special or unique, you will have to order custom windows. Once you've made that decision, estimate roughly how much you're willing to spend. If these are small windows for your home, say 2,500 square feet at Home Depot, you might spend $15,000. But if it's a house like the one we built, the Boha residence, the windows there can cost up to $300,000 because there are 3,000 square feet of windows. Everything depends on your budget, your preferences, and the options available on the market. So you've settled on a design. The next step is to decide how to order the windows and from whom to order them. And here the situation can go in two directions. If you order windows from a local contractor, then of course they will come take the measurements, and it will be their responsibility how they install them, whether all the sizes match, and ultimately what product you receive. But if you decide to order windows from abroad, that responsibility falls on you. That means you'll need to take the measurements yourself or order the windows based on the design. There's a very, very important element here that you should pay attention to. If you order windows based on the design, your situation changes completely. When the frame is being built, when the framers are working, you will need to control the size of the openings. If the openings are made incorrectly or the windows are not made to fit the openings, of course they won't fit, and you'll end up with a huge problem. So ordering windows, you've made your decision, you're ordering windows from a local contractor. I recommend sending your request to several companies. There's quite a lot of competition these days, and you can get a better price. These companies will come, take measurements, and provide you with a quote. After that, you'll discuss the timeline and what materials the windows will be made from, because they can be plastic, aluminum, or wooden windows. What is the thickness of the glazing unit? What color will the windows be, and what hardware will you use for opening and closing them? Once you've discussed all of this, you choose the best offer, place your order, and you can simply wait for your windows. But if you decide, like we did, to order windows from abroad, the process changes. Right now I'm standing next to the windows that we waited 3 months for, but I'll tell that story in another video. Why did we wait 3 months instead of 45 days? How we ended up paying 3 times more than the $7,000 in customs duties. But for now, let's get back to ordering windows from abroad. So your frame is ready. It would seem that at this point you should take measurements and send them for calculation and ordering abroad. But I'll tell you, no. If you do that, you'll lose about 3 to 4 months. And you might even lose money because customs duties change, prices fluctuate, and inflation affects the supplier's price. That's why if you're ordering windows from abroad, I recommend doing it at the design stage. Let's move on to installation. And here, just like before, the process depends on where you order your windows from. If you order windows from the local market, it is your supplier's responsibility to install the windows. In that case, you basically don't need to closely monitor the process. They install the windows. It's their responsibility. You simply receive the final result that you pay for. But if you order windows from abroad, you need to find window installers on the local market. In my case, we have a team that knows how to install European windows. What is the difference between European windows and American ones? The so-called nail fins are a certain feature that windows have. It is located on the outside and it kind of protrudes beyond the edge of the window, and the window is installed on the outside. The fastening is done from the outside. In other words, American windows are inserted from the outside and attached from the outside with screws or nails around the perimeter. This way, they immediately create a sealed connection between the frame and the window. European windows, as a rule, do not have such a nailing fin, so we have to install them differently. The first thing you need to do is tape all the openings with a special tape, a film that goes over the face and should extend inward by 4 to 6 inches so that it goes beyond the edge of the window. Why is this film applied? It protects the wood from moisture so that, for example, if a little moisture gets in somehow or condensation forms, the wood is not damaged. In this way, the film serves as protection against moisture. The next step, we install the windows into the opening. I install the windows a little deeper than flush with the edge. Why do we install the windows a little deeper from the outer wall of the house? Because as a rule, the wooden frame is not perfectly vertical or perfectly horizontal. And the windows must be strictly level, both horizontally and vertically in 2 planes. Both horizontally and vertically. In other words, the windows must be perfectly level so that all the handles and doors will open smoothly. If you start aligning the windows with the exterior level, but your frame is uneven, you'll end up with shims. Shims like this, shaped like the letter V. At the bottom, the window will be level, but at the top, it won't be. Sometimes this gap can reach up to ½ inch. I've even seen situations where there's a 1-inch shim between the bottom and the top. So when the next contractor comes in, whether they're doing stucco, stone or hardy panels, they don't know what to do with that shim. To fix the situation, we set the windows further inside, and that way we can deal with the shim. Even if the gap at the bottom is smaller than at the top, the next contractor can use a special trim piece to even out that distance, and they can use our perfectly installed windows as a reference. But if the windows are installed flush with the exterior edge, it's very difficult to do this. It's possible, but very difficult. A window is always perfectly straight. It has a precise vertical and horizontal line, whereas the facade is more flexible and you can adjust it in relation to the window. This is an extremely important point. One more thing, pay attention to the window span. This is a metal profile that is usually ordered from the company that makes your roof. Here the metal is raised ½ inch up. On the outside it protrudes and goes down. What is the purpose of the window span? First of all, it is only installed on floor-to-ceiling windows or windows that start from the floor. If you have a wooden floor here, it will start to warp from water exposure. If you have carpet or some other material here, you'll get moisture stains. That's why, to prevent water or fine condensation from seeping through and getting inside, a window span is installed. A window span is only installed on windows that start from the floor. If the window, as in this case here, does not start from the floor, then a window span is not installed because essentially, well, there is no risk of water intrusion here. First of all, the window is high up. Almost no moisture gets inside through it. On the outside, we have a special drip cap that prevents moisture from getting in. So in this case, it's not necessary to install it. But if you want to be completely protected from moisture, you can even install it on this window. That's your choice, your money. I would probably recommend installing it here as well, but it's not really necessary. You see a lot of black here, black silicone. This is a special window sealant, window silicone, which we use to install the window span. Later, when the window is installed, we use the same black sealant, this special window sealant. You won't find this kind of sealant at Home Depot. That's it, but you need to find a supplier who sells it. It comes in a sausage-shaped tube, and only one supplier of this sealant sells the special gun it fits into. So you screw it in, press, and it's quite pliable. It fills all the pores really well. It's very viscous. When it dries, it turns into rubber. It's kind of, well, I'm sure it contains rubber because when you're working with it, it's viscous. But once it hardens, it becomes like rubber, and it seals all the joints between the windows and, for example, the window frame of the spans very well. We also use the sealant to join the window frame. Since we don't have nail fins, we use it to connect the window frame and the frame. Here the gap is filled to about ½ inch. We see a ½ inch gap, and we fill this gap with the sealant. First applying blue tape, a blue film, so as not to get sealant on the windows. After you have sealed the gap with the sealant, you remove the blue film and you have a neat joint where moisture will never get in. From the inside, foam is applied. You can see this is a special window foam which is applied not only to protect against penetration. Well, foam doesn't really block moisture, it's more for air, but the foam also serves as an element of reliable window fastening. That is, the window is fastened with a bolt, but when you fill it with foam, the foam creates a sort of, it's closed foam, not open foam, it's closed foam. And when it dries, it becomes a rigid barrier, and the window no longer wobbles on the bolt. In other words, it becomes solid. Now we move on to installing the glass panes. Before you start installing the glass, you need to check the outer rubber seal, which often falls out like this. It will prevent you from making a watertight seal in the windows. So put the rubber seal back in place all around the perimeter. Go over the entire seal along the perimeter and check to make sure it is installed everywhere. Now let's move on to installing the insulated glass unit, and what I'm holding is not a defibrillator. These are vacuum suction cups, which our team will now use to pick up the insulated glass unit and show you how to install it correctly. We have Volodya and Pavel with us. Okay, first, you absolutely need to wipe off any dust and dirt from the glass unit so that the suction cup works properly. For a glass unit like this, usually 2 suction cups are used. If the glass unit is larger, you need more people and more suction cups. In this case, each glass unit comes with this kind of seal, which protects the glass unit from, well, it won't break. It just means that one unit doesn't fit tightly against another, but instead is separated by this gasket. It is glued on. You remove them right away if the window is being installed high up. If the window is at human height, you can remove them later. Yes, the area where it meets the rubber gasket is wiped with a cloth so that later you don't have to go over it again or try to get under the gasket. The gasket goes on easily afterwards, so it's better to wipe this area right away. One more small but very important point, the size sticker for the windows is always on the inside. This will help you determine which side is the outside and which is the inside. At the bottom, you need to place a plastic spacer so that the window rests not on the aluminum or plastic profile, but on the spacer. This way, you position the insulated glass unit exactly in the center between the bottom and top of the frame. To later position the glass unit between the left and right sides of the frame, you also need to place special plastic inserts here. After the inserts are in place, you take the metal profile, which holds the glass unit inside the frame, and after positioning it correctly, you give it a small, gentle tap with a rubber mallet. You drive it in from one side to the other. In this case, the bottom part is already wedged in, meaning it is already installed. Now you take the top profile, it even fits in by hand, no need to tap it. And then the side holders are inserted, the side profiles. Once the profiles are installed and all the spacers are in place, you need to insert a special rubber seal around the perimeter, just as it is installed on this side. It is inserted literally by hand with your finger. You start from the top and work your way down. You can use a soapy solution to make it easier to insert. And after that, your double glazed unit is installed. A small tip, remove the sticker right away. After a week, you won't be able to take it off. In the sun, it will stick to the glass unit so much that you'll have a hard time peeling it off later. So while the sticker is still easy to remove, it's best to take it off right away, on the spot. Thanks to our installers, Volodya, Pavel, and their team. The windows at this site were installed within 1 week from the moment we received and unloaded them, and now we're already at the final stage, finishing up the windows. So I am very grateful to you for this work. Yes, let's keep moving forward. It might seem like since the windows are installed, you can schedule the inspection, but that's not the case. You won't be able to pass the framing inspection if you haven't installed the front door, or for example, the garage door, or any entryway with a sliding door. In other words, all the openings in your house must be sealed tightly. After that, the inspector will come and approve your framing with the windows installed. I've had situations where we finished the house without installing the front door in order to preserve it, because during the process, there's a high risk it could get damaged. And we would install the door at the very end. Then I would call the inspector. He would note in his report that everything was approved except for the front door. And then once we installed the door, I would invite him again and we would complete the framing inspection. And as a bonus in our video, I'll tell you where you can save your money. First, something as small as this plug can save you a lot of money if you install them during the window installation stage rather than later. Here it's easy. I'm on the ground. I can come up and put it in at any time. But imagine your window is on the second floor where you need to set up a ladder. You have to set up the ladder, climb up there, and install this plug. or you might have to remove the glass unit, which increases the risk of breaking it. So install these plugs right away. Second, the protective film. Try not to remove the protective film until you have sealed the joint between the frame and the house structure with sealant. Once the joint is sealed, remove the protective film. This way, your window will stay clean. Third, the hardware. I recommend removing all the hardware because I guarantee that during the construction process, other contractors will break it, destroy it, or do something to the window, since many people don't know how to open windows and start forcing the handle. I suggest removing it for the entire duration of the process. When the construction is finished, you can calmly put it back in place and it will look as good as new. Fourth, interior stickers. They need to be removed right away while they're still pliable. As soon as they're exposed to sunlight, their structure changes and it becomes very difficult to remove them. Then, when the cleaners wash your house, they have a hard time getting them off and often have to use a lot of chemicals. It's very difficult, time-consuming, and expensive. Such a simple piece of wood can save you a ton of money. Before installing the double glazed window, if you have concrete underneath, as we do in this case, or even if you have a wooden floor with some nails in it, it's better to put down wooden spacers or a soft blanket so that the double glazed window, as you can see here, stands on its edge on the wood. Because this is tempered glass and it is vulnerable to impact on the edge. Do not touch the edge of this glass, protect it from edge contact. It's not afraid of impact from the outside surface, but it is sensitive to edge contact. Take off your rings. You might accidentally touch the edge with your ring and the glass will instantly shatter in your hands. Be very careful when installing the glass units. Metal must not touch the edge of the glass. This is the ideal level for window installation. In this case, we have a window door here. That is, a window and a door basically use the same technology. We call it a door because we open it and use it to enter the house. But if the door is not installed level and not properly adjusted, it will either close or open by itself in this position, or it will be skewed and the lock will work poorly when you try to close it, or there will be gaps at the top and bottom. That's why a laser level is a very important tool when installing windows. Do not use a regular level, it produces significant inaccuracies. It's better to install using a laser level. In this video, I try to share all my knowledge and experience on how we receive windows, order them, install them, and use them in the future. If you want to have such a huge window with a beautiful panoramic view in your home, you can make it happen. You will have to put in a little effort, but overall, you will get an amazing view from your home through this huge panoramic window.